So this is the big dragon, the big sleeping dragon that everyone has probably farmed and probably already killed. I left all the things open in my main world just so I can go back and test things like this. So this thing is extremely weak to bleed. Oh! That's an instant bleed proc. Another instant bleed proc. Instant bleed proc after bleed proc. This is the fastest way I think I've ever killed this dragon. Oh my god, this makes the dragon in 1 mana bar. It's gone. It's gone. Holy shit. This might be the best sorcery in Elden Ring for the DLC. Oh my god, it's a bleed sorcery. And if you rest before it dies, it respawns. So a little tech if you didn't know that. Let's try this. So that was like 14,000. Let's see if it is better with the Albinauric staff. I want to test the Albinauric staff. 15,000. It's doing way more damage. Oh, but it's not making as fast bleed buildup though. Wait, it's not making as fast bleed buildup. The other one had better bleed buildup. This one is not, it's not proccing the bleed. I'm already out of mana. Okay, so the Albinauric staff is definitely no. This one is where it's at. Even though this is S tier arcane, I think they nerfed the status buildup with the Albinauric staff very recently. So even though it's S tier arcane, it has better sorcery scaling, but it doesn't actually build up bleed as much. The spell that everybody has been looking for is going to be right here. Everybody is looking for this spell recently. I've gotten a ton of comments and questions asking me. Thank you to my community, and especially this guy on my screen for telling me exactly how to get here. If you look up where to get this spell, there is not a single guide on where to get this spell at, and the actual location that it says to go is down here, which is completely incorrect and off the main course. I don't know why it tells you to go here, but from what I can see, most websites say that it's from the Shadow Tree avatar or nearby its Grace or somewhere here. It's not there at all. You want to make sure that you go to the 7th floor, go down, get the lever, do the little jumping puzzle, and then run out the window to here, and then jump down the ledge onto the bat, and the spell will be right here. Just to prove it, I got it a little bit earlier. Again, once again, thanks to my community. Big shout out to this guy for helping me with this location. He was the only person I've seen that actually knew where this spell was and how to get it legitimately. And if you're wondering what this is actually a thorn sorcery. This counts as a thorn sorcery. I tried it, I tested it. It does stack with Alberic's set. It does also stack with the, I think, White Mask and Lord of Blood's Exaltation. I don't think it gives it more damage, but you do get the damage buff from it when you proc bleed on it really fast. Because again, this will actually proc bleed in like one use of its spell. Okay, now the way that your stats should look, well, first off, before I get into it, let me show the spell again. For this spell, you need to make sure that you have a very specific number of faith. It's a bit weird to use. You have to use faith to use this spell. But in order to use the staff that you want to use, you need int and arcane. So you're kind of using like 3 different stats. You want to make sure that you have more arcane than any other stat. That will almost guarantee a bleed proc if you can land like a full charge spell attack on an enemy. Because the best staff to use, I got a couple of them here just to test them out. I tried this earlier on the big dragon in Caelid. This big dragon, the Albinauric staff does have S tier scaling with arcane. So I think it does offer more damage, but the problem is they nerfed the status buildup of the Albinauric staff. So specifically, if you're using the Albinauric staff to build up status effects like bleed, it is less effective with that than the newest staff, which is the Maternal staff. This one says it boosts finger sorcery. That's not what we're using it for. We're using it for its arcane scaling and a little bit of intelligence scaling. And we're going to make sure that we have as much arcane as possible with our build. And that's how I got 1 bleed proc per use. It was an instant bleed proc every single time. I killed Greyoll in only 1 FP bar. I didn't even have that much FP, so that should really show you how much bleed this is actually building up at a single use. Keep in mind, if you do keep this in your offhand, it is better to keep this in your offhand for extra little bit of bonus damage. Again, this does stack as it's a thorn sorcery, so if you keep this in your offhand, you'll do a little bit more damage with the spell when you use it with this one, but primarily you want to be casting it with this and keep this in your offhand. In addition, yes, like I said earlier, the Lord of Blood Exaltation does work if you're in vicinity of it. You have to be really close, so it might not be the best, as well as White Mask. White Mask also does work. I don't know if that boosts the damage of the spell itself. I don't think it does, but it does activate the buffs at the very least. So after you proc it with this spell, because it's really long range, you can just swap to a different weapon, and you already have the damage buffs ready to go. The way that your stat spread is going to look is going to be very weird, okay? Extremely weird. So to use the Maternal staff, you need at least 21 int. It's not what it says on other websites. Other websites say it's only 11. That is incorrect. It's 21. The faith is also needs to be 24 just to use the spell. And then the arcane, again, the reason we're not specking into like the Prince of Death staff and just going with these, that would give you more damage, I agree. But the arcane should build up bleed a lot more because it scales directly off the arcane stat. Your bleed buildup will scale off the arcane, and that's why the Albinauric staff got nerfed, because it was really good to apply statuses with, and that's why everybody was using it. So yes, you could get more damage if you spec into, let me just show you guys again. You could get more damage if you spec'd into more faith and int, but you want to make sure that but if you're just playing for the bleed procs, then you would go arcane. So having arcane with this staff is very necessary for the actual bleed procs to happen very fast. But again, if you wanted something, if you didn't really care about the bleed procs and you just wanted more damage, then you would just go int and faith. You would just use the Prince of Death staff instead if you went int and faith. So your int and faith would just be as high as you can, meeting the soft caps. Obviously, you want to have 60 vigor as always. You would do more damage this way, but unfortunately, I don't think you would build up bleed in a single hit. It would take probably quite a while for you to build up bleed. This is as much faith and intelligence as we can get. So you could do a stat spread like this if you want to use the Prince of Death staff and you don't really care about the bleed proc and you just want as much damage from it as possible. It does do very good damage as well. So now I'm going to cut to a little segment from my live stream just to show you how much damage this thing did. It is crazy. The bleed proc is almost instant every single time. Even after repeated bleed procs, it keeps getting more and more bleed buildup, and it was insane. So please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. A lot of the information on certain guides is incorrect or misleading. They're kind of leaving out very important steps. And thanks to my community's efforts, I've been able to combine multiple sources of information with everybody so we can all kind of get on the same page and figure out where everything is. So once again, big shout out to this guy and to the rest of my community. Thank you guys so much for helping me, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. Okay, hold on. Here? Is it here? Oh! That's an instant bleed proc. Another instant bleed proc. Instant bleed proc after bleed proc. This is the fastest way I think I've ever killed this dragon. Oh my god, this makes the dragon in 1 mana bar. It's gone. It's gone. Holy shit. This might be the best sorcery in Elden Ring.